Hey everyone, I'm Will.
And I'm Caleb.
Welcome to the Retrek Review Podcast, a podcast where we talk about every single episode of Star Trek chronologically. But here's the best part. Caleb hasn't seen a single episode.
What is Star Trek? Is it like Star Wars? I've seen Star Wars.
So don't click off this video, because if you do, you won't see Caleb's unique view of what the episode we're about to watch is.
I hated it.
You heard it here. Computer, begin program.
Increase to full power!
It was me that creeps. I feel like something's watching us.
Savick, you go right on quoting regulations.
Hello, computer.
I knew I would.
You betrayed your uniform!
Target their cargo hold. Time to take out the garbage.
Smooth as an android's bottom, eh, Data?
I beg your pardon, sir.
Inspires to be better than I
Come on, it's gonna be fun.
Am. 5 years in space. God help me.
This is the best day of my life!
A phaser? You didn't use it? Swords are fun.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Welcome back to another Retrek Review, where each week we talk about Star Trek. And this week we're talking about episode 12 of season 2 of Star Trek The Next Generation, and that episode is entitled The Royale. It originally aired March 27th, 1989. It was written by, as pseudonym, Keith Mills, which was really Tracy Torme. We'll get into that in trivia. It was directed by Cliff Bole, who is a returning director. He did previously the episodes Lonely Among Us, Hide and Q, and Conspiracy. The synopsis for The Royale is the Enterprise investigates the wreckage of a 21st century Earth spaceship orbiting a distant planet and the appearance of a casino with inhabitants based on a rather poorly written paperback novel. We had additional guest stars this week. We had Sam Anderson as the assistant manager. Sam Anderson is a very well-known character actor. He's pretty much plays a doctor or a principal in like everything that you could think of. He plays the principal in Forrest Gump. He plays doctors throughout most of his career. Most famously, maybe, is that he plays the doctor in the episode of Friends, where Phoebe gives birth to the triplets, and he enjoys Happy Days. And I think most recently he appeared in the Kathy Bates Matlock series, where he appeared as Edwin for 4 episodes. So he is still
Doing stuff.
still going. Then we had Jill Jacobson as Vanessa. She's likely best known for her reoccurring role as Erin Jones on Falcon Crest from 1985 to 1987, and then later a regular role on The New Gidget, which aired from 86 to 87. Then we had Leo Garcia as the bellboy, another character actor who's in a handful of stuff.
You get shot.
He does get shot. Then Noble Willingham as Texas. He pretty famously not only plays the owner of the ranch in both City Slickers movie, the guy who's asking for them to move the bulls and the cows. He is C.D. Parker, Big Dog Parker, from the television series Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah, that's right.
He's the guy who owns the restaurant.
Yeah. I knew I recognized that guy from stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Then we had Cole Meany as Miles O'Brien, and lastly, Gregory Beecroft as Mickey D, who again is just a character actor who has been in just a handful of stuff. So that was the introduction of the episode. But before we move on to supporters of the podcast, let's go over to Caleb and ask Caleb what he thought of the episode.
Yeah, I like this episode. I thought it
Very
was
nice.
enjoyable. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought at first it was going to be a Q episode,
Yeah, okay.
but it wasn't.
It
So
was.
right off the bat, that's at least two Akutas for me this week. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It was like this fun little one-off, weird little thing. I enjoyed the storyline of it. I enjoyed when they figured out like why this place was the way it was. I liked that.
Yeah.
And anytime you can tie Trek back into 21st century NASA I always enjoy that. So,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
so that was cool. Yeah. So I like it. Yeah. Two this week, two
Two
Akutas.
Akutas. Wow. That's great.
Yeah. It's a holodeck episode that doesn't take place on the holodeck. That's what it is.
That's very true. Well, that is what Caleb thought of the episode. But before we get into the review, first, right off the bat, yeah, and then right over here, we come here. Oh, we thank Ed, Mark Starr, and Captain Olimar for their Patreon support. We appreciate them keeping things afloat. We appreciate Ed, Mark Starr, sitting on the back console, typing and calculating and figuring out the patterns of storms. We
Hmm.
appreciate Captain Olimar for maintaining composure and maybe being a little too invested in mathematical puzzles.
Yes.
But as Patreon supporters, they get their comments read on the podcast, and they both have comments on our review of Contagion from last week. We'll start off here with Ed Mark Starr. He says, I'm leaning more to liking Contagion, even though it gives me Arsenal of Freedom vibes. There's
Hmm.
enough differences to entertain me. TNG episodes that touch on technology always echo 80s tech. This is one of the pitfalls of setting a sci-fi series in the far future. The production staff may not have a good take on contemporary technology, let alone what future tech might be like. So let's throw in some Romulans for dramatic tension, aside from an alien computer virus. The scene
Yeah.
in the Iconian control room on the planet does recall the Guardian in the city on the edge of forever from TOS. It gives insight to the show's assembly, using ideas from past episodes by reworking them into a new story. It was nice to see that in Contagion because all television shows do a lot of borrowing to prop up a storyline. Yeah, I think we can.
Hmm.
I think I can get behind that. I know you,
Yeah.
and I know you certainly can.
I agree with that.
And then he gives us his popcorn award. So we'll have to tackle that in next week's Hailing Frequencies Open. And then next is a comment from Captain Olimar on the same podcast. He says, Fate favors fools in ships named Enterprise.
Mhm.
That is not the quote used in the show, but it's what I remembered Riker saying.
That's funny.
I don't really like the real quote, to be honest.
Yeah, that one was much better, the one he just said.
Anyways, on to the episode, Wanakuda. Now to describe in detail why Caleb's subjective opinion is wrong, wrong, wrong. He says, I really enjoyed all the ship shots in the show. Yamato blowing up was sweet and a pretty good hook for the space mystery plot. I liked the scene with Wesley talking to Picard about the aliens, but really wanted to talk about the Yamato crew.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate Will Wheaton has to act opposite Patrick Stewart. He doesn't really sell his shock to me.
Mm-mm.
Then, Earl Grey Hot. I liked the
Yeah.
sleuthing through the computer log, and it seemed logical to me. And then he gives us the Vulcan hand salute. Live
Hmm.
long and prosper.
Yeah. I don't know what that is anymore.
Oh, okay.
There's no Vul. I don't know what Vulcans are.
No. You just remember her being like a doctor or something.
She's some kind of weird pointy-eared alien person on the ship. Yeah.
Then he says Jordy getting thrown around in the turbo lift was a fun scene, and it shows how crazy the turbo lifts are.
The only good scene, Captain Ali March, the only good scene.
I like the alien planet being bombed to crap oblivion, and
hmm
all because of paranoia. Welp, better blow everything to heck. Set charges, Mr. Worf. Brett Spiner does a great job as always, and I'm glad you both pointed out how talented he is. I like
Yeah.
that Picard don't give two craps about the Romulan ship when he gets back on board the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And then he says, "You know what? I wrote myself into it. Time to upgrade the episode to two Akutas. Lots of fun to be had this week. Thanks for the review as always."
See, it's funny because the more he's explaining the episode, the more it sounds worse and worse to me.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I
funny.
I appreciate his review of the episode. He was like me. When I went in, I felt like it was going to be a Roddenberry, maybe an Akuda. I watched it
hmm
and I was like, amazing.
It's funny. I don't know. I might have just been in a bad mood, honestly. That usually affects me
You know,
and how I feel about things.
I feel like Contagion is, maybe that's true for you, but I'm saying that I think Contagion may be the one episode that we're tackling here in season two. Let's just focus on and say it might be a split for you and I and for the fandom because I
Mm,
also think there were other people who commented that weren't like really thrilled with the
didn't love
episode.
it.
So,
Yeah, but we've been here before too. I like you know, you're not like a huge fan of like Bohemian Rhapsody from Strange New Worlds, and like
oh,
I love that episode.
yes.
So we've been down this road before, and
Also, I can
like
just describe that you saying that the Enterprise Mirror Universe episode was like Avengers Endgame. I did not feel the same way, but that's okay. So yeah, we've been here
it's
before.
amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. And like I always say, Will, it's okay to be wrong.
That's true.
And this week, you and Captain Limar are obviously wrong.
He also shares his popcorn award with us,
Mm.
which we again
Jordy.
will. Hmm,
That's Brett Spiner. I mean, there's only two choices. I mean, it's just
we'll have to see. You'll have to wait to see. And then also, we had a new subscriber to the channel, and that new subscriber is Super Studio.
mm.
So we appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Hope you continue to find things that you like to watch.
Yeah, let us know what you thought of Contagion. Is it really as bad as as I say, or
So we appreciate everybody commenting in general. We appreciate the subscriptions. And if you are not a Patreon supporter, you can just wait a week this time and we'll tackle your comments on a separate series called Hailing Frequencies Open.
yeah, next
So
next episode of Hailing Frequencies Open is gonna be double the length, double the fun,
it's gonna be
double the what's popular section. It's gonna be a just a real
it's
who's who.
gonna be 3.5 hours long.
It's gonna be great, and you're gonna love every second of it.
So, without any further ado, let's get into the review. So, start of the episode, I thought it was really funny that, they're going through, they're like explaining their whole purpose of being at this planet. And I thought it was really funny that to learn of debris in orbit from a rarely visited planet that was marked by Klingons is so boring to Picard that he reclines to his ready room to ponder over a 800-year-old math puzzle.
Yeah,
He's just
super
like,
boring.
he's like, I don't care about this. Just gonna go.
This keeps up the appearance though of Picard not really caring about like
It,
what's going on the ship.
it really does.
Like how many times now have we seen them being like, "Hey, so we're going to this thing because like it's pretty crazy." And they go
Right.
and like to get Picard like, "Hey, Picard, so we're at that thing that we're supposed to be doing." He's like, "Oh, that's interesting, number one, but have you ever thought about why planets go in circular orbits? Isn't that fascinating?" Like, yeah, that's crazy, Picard. Anyway, we're at that site where the Klingons said there was like debris. Yeah, all right, geez.
Okay.
It's like like we've said it before, but it's like sometimes he's like he forgets that he's the captain of the ship and that
Yes.
he's.
Yes. It totally feels like that. I was just like,
It's very funny.
I was just like, okay. I get it. And they end up tying it back in, but it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
It made me laugh.
but it's also one of those things too where it's like it's not believable to me.
True.
It's like yeah, so this mathematician wrote this thing back in like the 20th century and nobody can figure it out, even the computers. It's like, okay, I don't buy it.
I wonder if they were just trying to write to Picard, like basically, oh, this is such an unassuming thing that, the planet is a nightmare planet. There's nothing really here. Who cares about what's happening on the planet? So that when they go down to investigate, like the mystery is greater because Picard is like not interested in it, and so it's like more of a surprise that it's like so crazy on the planet. So the thing I could think of is like why they wrote to that.
It's like House before House. It's like, hey, so
Mm.
there's this, debris, and he's like, not interested. Like, yeah, but it's like the Klingons told us about. It. He's like, that still doesn't really interest me. And they're like, it has a U.S. flag on it. He's like, hmm, now I'm interested.
Now I'm interested. Yeah, yeah, that was pretty cool. Did you? You liked when they turn the thing and it
Yeah,
says NASA on it. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I know that. That's from my time period.
So we come back from the musical intro, and I know it's a production thing. I get that it's like there's really no other way this would really happen in the show. I understand, but I just thought it was really amusing that Picard's like, all right, number one, minimal away team to investigate this structure down on the planet that has breathable air around it. It's like, you got it. And then he takes arguably the most important senior staff to go down. That was just like, okay.
Okay, yeah.
It's like, we'll take the android who's incredibly capable and could do pretty much everybody's job on the ship. We'll take the chief of security and the first officer. Let's go.
As long as the captain doesn't go, though, that's the most important thing.
Right, exactly.
Too dangerous for the captain.
I really appreciated that they immediately tried to contact each other after entering the structure, though. Like, I
Hmm.
appreciated them talking beforehand, but I liked that. They go in, they have the big setup of like, what the heck is this? Like, all the three of them are very confused. And then they immediately, like, Picard tries to talk to them, and then they try to talk to Picard. I appreciated that they weren't just like, oh, that's weird. We haven't heard from them in a couple minutes. We'll give it a couple, like 20 more minutes, half an hour. It's like a couple minutes went by kind of thing. I like that.
Yeah. I kind of even like to like Picard like starts to get like irritated at Riker this episode. It
Mm,
was pretty funny.
hmm. Yeah, yeah,
I always love when they're like in a room and they're like, "Wow, this room is so weird." And then one person's like, "Hey, what's that?" And then like, "Oh, I didn't notice the big revolving door directly in front of us."
yeah. Yeah, this vast black landscape. Like, oh,
Oh,
when
that's
did
weird.
when did that appear?
Has that been here the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
So you probably were terrified the second they beamed down and it was just a revolving door. You were like, yep, here
Yeah.
comes the queue.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I figured honestly that that's what that was gonna be.
I can see that. I can totally see that.
I was like, oh my God, here we go. It's just one of those things too, where it's like Q shows up 4 times in the first season, and it's like I know all the fans enjoy Q, and I'm just like waiting for it because like the first season sets up Q, and that the Romulans are back, and now here we are in what is this, episode 8?
I think it's a little 12.
Yeah, and nothing.
No.
We've seen the Romulans once, and they were fine. No
Totally.
Q.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm just waiting.
Well, maybe a break from Q will help you to appreciate him more.
No.
How wrong I am. I enjoyed how the away team received their hotel accoutrements as they go up there, and he's talking to the assistant manager, and they're going through the whole thing, and then he's like, "And here's your room keys, and here's some complimentary," and they're all just like, "Oh, oh," they're like, "Wow, casino
Yeah.
chips." They're just like very fascinated by everything that he's handing them.
They look like blown away by the chips when, not that long ago we saw that they all still played like poker on the ship.
Yes.
And I was like, you know what chips are.
Yeah, like
Like,
it's a
let's move on. Let's move on. Because Data looks at the room key like, what? Then he looks at the chips like, what? It's like, I'm like, you know what poker chips are.
they gamble in poker and recreation, but they don't understand a building.
No, a door, some sort of door.
Yeah, Fred Wesley calls it that ancient rotating door or something like that. It's like they've completely abolished rotating doors.
Yeah. No, we have no need for doors.
Yeah, because you would never be like an architect who would build like a rotating door just for the sake of like trying to get that classic retro feel. You would never build a building like that.
No, I mean look at our time period. Do we care about retro stuff?
No,
No.
not at
No.
all.
No. And I also wanted to point out to you, Will, that in this episode they do something that you were all upset about in the Strange New Worlds trailer. They use a telephone.
They certainly do. It's a telephone.
So suck on that.
I will admit
No,
that when we get there and Worf like picks it up and how he handles it, I was a little disappointed that like Worf knew how to use it. I think Michael Dorn should have played out a little bit more that he really
should have like tapped it.
Right.
Hello? Yeah. No.
But yes,
They want to know if we want room service.
Yeah, so before we get to them going to the room, I laughed and I wrote down business. Got to get down to business. When the Texan guy comes off when Data's like, "Oh, there's no."
Take for example this piece of garbage.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Take for example this stereotypical Texas ranch owner.
And he's like,
"What are you boys doing out here?"
Yeah, and he's like,
"Yeah,
"Oh, you sound like my ex-wife."
I may just be a simple Texas ranch owner."
Oh man, it was so funny. He said, "But I gotta get
You
down
knew
to business."
you knew you was gonna roll that 7.
Oh yeah, yes.
Did you do it just to hurt me?
Because I didn't show you my car.
I thought we were, yeah, because I didn't show you my car. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was good.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
And then, hey, Troy can sense them on the planet. She says, "I would best describe Riker as amused." So I thought that was interesting. It was kind of like a nice way to not have Picard like absolutely like freak out and start like phasering the building to get them free. It was like, okay, well, he seems okay. Like amused is an interesting emotion to have currently, but okay.
Yeah.
Data at the blackjack table was decent. I like that whole kind of sequence. That was not bad. Where he puts the hat on him and he's like, it's not the point of this game to like accrue cards to reach the number 21. He's like, it is, boy. And he's like, then I will need another card.
Also known as 21. Aces are 1 and 11.
Yes, yeah.
Face cards are 10. Dash rat. Those are the rules.
I also really enjoyed Jordy at the back of the bridge like a lot. I don't know what it was like, especially in this like second act area. Just him like the beginning kind of was silly when he was like, "Whew, whoa, that's a nasty looking storm. Oh boy, ugh." But like later, I kind of enjoyed like I know it was just LeVar Burton, just like sitting there and just like poking on things and trying to make it look good. But I really honestly enjoyed like Picard saying to him, like, wow, that's some serious calculations you have going there. And he's like, yeah, and he's like trying to figure things out. I don't know. It just felt like they sold it pretty good that they were actually trying to figure out how to get through the interference or at least talk to Riker or beam him up or something. I liked all that.
No, that was cool.
And then phasers don't work. And it was nice to see Worf increase it to a higher setting where it was like,
Mm-hmm.
and
No.
he was like, all right, okay. Well, this is the halfway point, so go down to the comment section and write business.
Down to business.
So we come back and Troy continues to serve a purpose by now telling Picard that he feels trapped. I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed that the audio of Riker coming through to the Enterprise really sounded like there was storm / like wind interference when he was like talking to Picard. The way that they did that that sound effect sounded like
Yeah.
their comms were being broken up from storms, basically.
Right, can you read?
Yes.
There's a good deal of interference, Captain, but you are getting through.
Yeah, I did like that.
And the elevator bit was really good too, where Worf is like, perhaps these turbo lifts can help us find that DNA.
Turbo lift seems to be malfunctioning.
Yeah. And then Data's like, ding, and then the thing opens. I don't know, it was pretty good.
But even like Riker stands there and he has to like hold his like head back so the door doesn't shut in front of it. It was like it's very funny.
Yes. The other thing that really made me laugh soon after this was when they get up to the floor and Data's like, oh, it's behind this door. And then Riker's like, okay, Worf, he gives him like the quiet hand signal to like go in. And Worf like pulls out his phaser, sets it, and then he's like, and now I'll open the door. Like the whole setup made it seem like he was just gonna like kick the door in or something, and then but he just reaches forward and tries the handle. And I appreciated
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Pretty funny.
And then we get skeleton astronaut.
Yeah, I enjoyed this scene where they were like, there's human DNA upstairs. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. And I was like, all right, so if everybody downstairs is like, holograms, why is there a real person up here?
Yeah, so the interesting thing I was thinking, I was like trying to calculate as they were talking about it. So it states that he died, like he's been dead for like 200 and something years, 283 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And so knowing the time of this episode, he should have died in 2082. And then they say his like ship launched in 2037. And then he spent 38 years in the hotel. So
In the
that
hotel.
yeah. So it means that there are 7 years unaccounted from the launch to when he died and not being in the hotel. So I was looking up and that's close. It's not exact, obviously, but it's close to like the ship got to like Jupiter, Saturn area, and then you would assume then it like disappeared. It takes like 4 to 8 years to get to that part of our solar system. So and they didn't have warp technology at this time period. So just an interesting thing. I was trying to like, based off of like the information we have for what year this episode takes place for the Enterprise crew, and then all the information that they're giving, I was trying to like see how close we are to things. So it was kind of interesting. I liked all that.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
They also give the time stretch for the United States of America having 52 stars in this like time period, which was kind of interesting. Obviously, like why like did the United States stop being a thing in 20 whatever they said 2077 or 2079 or something, or did they add more states to the thing? Like I don't know, but just interesting.
D yeah, I didn't really pick up on that.
Yeah, he says 52 stars, and then he says that means it's from like 2032 to like
Uh,
2077. It was something like that.
that's weird.
So a lot of nerdy Star Trek stuff, but interesting. I also thought like I really enjoyed what the guy was saying. It was like really eye-opening and all of that, but also the thing that was just kind of like terrible was Riker's reading all of this, and you're like, oh, okay, like I'm following along, I'm understanding, and then he's like, there's no way that they could know how terrible this is, so I shall welcome death when it comes. And I was just like, oh my God.
Oh, oh yeah, it'd be, dude, it would be an absolute nightmare. Not to like tear it apart because I do enjoy this.
Sure, sure.
Like, so the aliens just left him there, but like they're still in control of it because he lived there for so long. That means like food and water sustained him, which means, so like
That the
they set up,
roof, yeah.
yeah. So where are they now, basically? It's like,
Yeah, it's an interesting problem. I agree with you because, okay, he's been dead for 283 years and they're still keeping this thing going.
yeah.
That's what doesn't make any sense. And the only thing
Yeah,
I
why? Yeah.
the only thing I could think of is that like you're supposed to try to think maybe that like the aliens are kind of like kids with an ant farm kind of thing, like a terrarium, and they like scooped up all these astronauts from this mission, this like shuttle that they had, and
Yeah.
their means of transporting them like killed most of them. He's the only one to survive, and then they're like, okay, cool, and they didn't know anything about humans, but for some reason they had these books for some reason because it doesn't say that they're his books. It just says that they're based off of these. Not he found them in his room. So my thought is
Yeah.
these aliens somehow came across these books. Maybe perhaps they visited Earth in like the 1980s or something and were trying to understand humans and they only came across like paperback novels for some reason and they're trying to understand. They scoop up these people out in like the middle of our solar system, deposit them to like study them, and they're like, well, based off of their this literature that they've created, not knowing it was like a story and not a way of life, they create this thing, but then it was supposed to terminate once you figured out the solution. And like Colonel Richie like never figures out how to get out of the casino, the hotel. So he just lives in this box until he dies.
But even if he did, what's he gonna do out there?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. He probably would just die. You know, maybe,
He probably did. He probably did go out the door and then realize, like, you know,
yeah. I also think maybe because he spent so long in there, like 30 something years, that they just like gave up on watching him and like they just abandoned their like project. I
yeah.
don't know. That's kind of the whole thing that Picard at the end kind of tackles is like, hey, this thing that this guy in like I don't remember, whatever century, like has this math problem. It's like, this is
Hmm.
how this is going to be. No one will ever understand how this happened. And you're like, okay, thank you. So that's, I think, the point of the episode is like, you're supposed to have all of these questions of like, how did he get there? Why is it like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like
Yeah.
it's like good and bad writing.
I enjoy the concept of like aliens finding that ship and like thinking they're helping,
Yes.
but actually end up like making it just an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. It could be exactly what you're saying is like perhaps the mission was going sideways and they rescued them but didn't know anything more than these paperback novels of how to like help them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I thought there was like a throwaway line that was like he had that book on the shuttle, but then when he woke up in that room, that was the only thing in there that he recognized was the book that he had.
I mean maybe, but I feel like I thought the exact same thing as I was watching the episode. Even though I've seen it, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's like that's right. It's one of the books he had on his shuttle." But like I'm almost positive in his thing, he says he just found it. Let me read it here. Let's see. This is what he writes in the book. I write this in the hope that it will someday be read by human eyes. I can only surmise at this point, but apparently our exploratory shuttle was contaminated by an alien life form which infected and killed all personnel except myself. So something happened on the shuttle that infected his crew, which means they didn't die instantaneously, and then it killed them. But he says, I awakened to find myself here in the Royal Hotel, precisely as described in the novel I found in my room. And for the last 38 years, I have survived here. I have come to understand that the alien contaminators created this place for me out of some sense of guilt, presuming that the novel we had on board the shuttle, oh, there you go, about the Hotel Royale was in fact a guide to our preferred lifestyle and social habits. So there you go. Okay, so I forgot the second
So it
half.
was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Uh,
that first line makes it seem like he woke up, that book was the only thing in there.
gotcha.
But then he says they used the book that was in our shuttle to build the life that they thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I just missed that line. Obviously, they thought this was the world from which I came from. I hold no malice towards my benefactors. They could not possibly know what they have put me through, for it was such a badly written book, filled with endless cliche and shallow characters, that I shall welcome death when it comes.
Yeah.
So it's a very good mystery that they throw out there. Because I agree with you, it's very fascinating to think that some shuttle like a decade or two from like a decade or so from now launches, they get so far into our solar system they disappear, and then apparently aliens accidentally did something and then tried to make it right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did think though when we come back from commercial and they're all like in the observation lounge and they're talking, and Dr. Pulaski is in the episode for all of 2 minutes.
3 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like some pretty drastic measures to get the away team off of the planet. They're like, well, if we do this terrible thing, we could get them. And it's like, wouldn't that put us in like cryostasis? It's like, yes. And it's like, okay, what are your chances of getting us out of cryostasis? She's like, maybe.
Pretty okay. Yeah.
And he's like, well, if your incentive for telling us this information, Captain, was to make us work harder at figuring it out ourselves, you have succeeded at doing that, because I have no interest in following the doctor's plan.
Yeah.
I know that, like, I don't think it was supposed to be intended for Patrick Stewart to look as disgusted as he was reading the novel in his ready room when he first starts off, that it was a dark and stormy night. He
Oh,
looks
jeez.
so, yeah, he looks so miserable about it. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
Yeah.
But the one thing I really didn't like was that Troy, like late and a couple beats later, is so annoyed and bored with the dialogue that she's hearing down on the planet that she abandons trying to learn like anything to help the away team.
No, can't do it.
It's like I get that this thing is very like cliche and it's very like but at the same time, like the away team is in a pretty dire situation. They're like on a death planet inside this pocket and they're trying to get back to the ship. It's not like they're down
Yeah,
there to learn more and more and more. They're trying to get away. It's like,
and also like, isn't she kind of like supposed to like have a thing for Riker or?
right, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
nah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I didn't care for that too much. It also was at this point, I know that he shows up and Mickey D shows up and all that stuff plays out. And it's like, don't interfere. It has to play out because the novel happens. And he shoots him. And he's like, it's better to live for a woman and not die for her. See you later. Like all that kind of thing. And I was like, okay. And it was at this point, I was like, isn't Mickey D like a made up name for McDonald's that like everybody calls McDonald's now?
Mickey D's, yeah,
All I could think about was him as like
yeah.
Ronald McDonald from that point after. I heard Mickey D about 7 times in a row. I was like, wait a minute.
Well, if you eat too much McDonald's, it does the same to your spine. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
The other thing that I thought we were kind of got on the cusp of touching on it here just a moment ago. I thought it was kind of weird that despite Colonel Ritchie being in this situation for like 38 years, he never thought of like he never put together that the ending of the book was perhaps the way to escape the hotel. It's like I could totally get, if you read a page a day, it would take like a year or so probably to read the book. So like even if you didn't
Yeah.
want to and it was painful and you don't try to for like the first couple weeks or a month or two, you just try to get out of this thing and you can't get out and then after a while and then you try. It's like I think in 30 something years I probably would have put together, well, maybe if I let this thing play out, let's see what happens. The only terrible thing I did kind of consider was because there's only one of him, and he says a trio of foreign something
Oh,
entrepreneurs, and then later he says foreign investors, plural, that maybe because there's only one of him, he's not recognized as like a foreign investor.
that's a good point. Yeah.
It
I didn't think
also
about that.
it also could be because Riker at the end, he's like, spend more money, do more flamboyant, like over the top things. And then that's when the assistant manager is like, oh, you're the foreign investors. It wasn't until that point that, like, the book or whatever this thing was, like, labeled them that. It wasn't like the whole time they weren't considered foreign investors. It was like Riker had to be like over the top and cliche in his like actions for the casino.
Yeah, that's true too. I literally just was under the assumption that just because like, well, if he figured that out and wrote about it in his book, then that's the end of the episode.
Yes. See you later.
Yeah. Oh, he figured it out. Like, because he could have wrote in his book, like, hey, I figured out how to get out of the hotel, but there's nothing out there, so I came back into the hotel.
Ooh. You
But
know what?
there you go. There's the end of the episode. Oh, we just gotta invest in the bank,
Hmm.
in the thing.
You know what? I think probably for the first time ever on our podcast, that sounds like the perfect time for trivia.
Oh, not again.
All right, now you're overacting.
So, writer Tracy Torme first pitched the story, then called The Blue Moon Hotel,
Wow, that's much worse.
to Robert Lewin during the first season. And it was one of 2 scripts that won Torme a staff job on Next Generation. According to Torme, he says there had been a lot of talk about doing it the first year, but finally, in the second year, They gave me the green light and told me to go ahead and do it. It became the Royale. And I wrote a draft which was, again, a bit of a departure for Star Trek. It was kind of a surrealistic piece with a lot of comedy and a lot of subtle satire in it. And it kind of went on to say that, like, he wrote like a nightmare landscape for this episode. It was supposed to be more like this guy. It says the astronaut's life in the hotel was not based on a cheesy novel, but on a fragment of a pleasant memory that the mysterious resident aliens had pulled from his mind. But even a pleasant memory can become a nightmare if one is never permitted to leave. So that was his like original writing of it. Torme then requested the pseudonym Keith Mills to protest rewrites by Maurice Hurley. Hurley rejected the surrealism and claimed that Torme's premise was too derivative of the TOS episode A Piece of the Action, which is the one I constantly talk about with the Chicago mobs. He says there were gangsters in this one, gangsters in that one, and both based on a book. So Maurice was like, nope, stupid, rewriting this.
Done. Yeah.
Torme goes to continue to comment. I've completely disowned the piece. I suppose skeletally it's my story, but when I started to read the rewrite, I got 10 pages through it and I got sort of a cold chill and had to put it down. An interesting thing is that the cast, the crew, and even secretaries went out of their way to tell me how much they liked my draft. And they asked me in a totally puzzled manner what on earth had happened and why we had changed it. All I could do was shrug. Of course, this is all my opinion, and you'd probably hear something different from the other side. I felt like a lot of the comedy was taken out, a lot of the surrealism was taken out. I feel that it's very heavy handed now, and it's gone from being a strange episode to being a stupid episode.
Nice. Yeah. Plus, the Eagles already wrote a song about this, so.
You can never leave. Then it goes on to say that this dispute resulted in Tracy Torme leaving active staff duty and taking on a lesser role as creative consultant. And then the director, Cliff Bowles, observed, I thought Tracy's original story was much better. Different strokes for different folks. Sometimes you get a story and there's no backup to go to. If you have two on hand, you might make the move to do another one while you repair the first one to make it better. Other times, time just crawls up your back and you have to shoot these every gosh darn day. The Royale was one of those things that happen in television where you have an idea and you have to get it out there and shoot it because time is coming on you. I get the impression that, like, other than Maurice Hurley, like, nobody enjoyed this script and liked whatever Tracy had come up with the first time. Don't know, but just an interesting thing that, like you were saying, like, you were like, oh man, it would have been interesting if like he did leave, couldn't, and then got out there and realized there was nowhere to go, so he went back in, and like that's the nightmare quality. And I think that's what Tracy maybe was trying to speak to, but they just kind of wrote it to be like a silly kind of thing. It says in the original script, the astronaut survivor was the last of a crew of 7 to die. His image was kept alive in the fantasy setting to be entertained by the Enterprise crew. In the end, a dead away team crew woman remains to keep the astronaut company, which was similar to the cage.
There's a lot of similarities of stuff, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Basically seems like Torme harkened back to like TOS stuff and then kind of rewrote the idea to make it, different enough so that it wasn't like a copy and paste idea. And Maurice Hurley saw it and was like, absolutely not. Then it says Fermat's last theorem is mentioned as being unproved for 800 years. But in 1995, 6 years after this episode was written, a proof was discovered by Andrew Wiles. They do actually explore later in Star Trek, which is kind of a funny thing. They do return to this unproved math problem puzzle. So it's interesting. And the last bit thing, I thought you would like this. The mission patch on the dead astronaut's uniform is an Apollo 17 patch, 1972, with the word Apollo removed, still bearing the names of that mission's astronauts, Kernan, Evans, and Schmidt, and the number 17. But in the remastered version, it was corrected with a new patch stating Charybdis, NASA, and first beyond the solar system. So the remastering changes the patch.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that was trivia. We come back to the conclusion of the episode. I thought the gambling line with Riker was really funny, where Data's like, I forget exactly how it transpires, but Data's like, I'm pretty sure that's what gambling is, sir.
Yeah.
And then Data immediately bounces into the quote, baby needs a new pair of shoes. And then when whatever rolls, I think a 7 or something, Riker does like the arm pump, and then Data's like gives the finger snap, and he kind of
Yeah.
gives the thing. Yeah.
It's everything about Data gambling is always great.
But I had this random thought, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. Do you think that Brett Spiner choosing to play Data with some emotions take you out of the episode? Because, like, periodically throughout all episodes, not every episode, but some episodes, he, like, smirks or kind of does, like, a bemusement face, or, like, in this episode, he's kind of smug, or he's a little like, ooh, yeah, that's right, baby, you know it. Like, he kind of does, like, the Bender thing, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of wondered if, like, as a viewer, as somebody who's consuming this for, like, the first time in general, like, does it take you out of it, the fact that, like, Data is showing human emotions?
I don't think so. Not for me, anyway.
Okay.
I get what you mean by, like, if this was like the first time you saw this, you wouldn't necessarily know.
Right.
But no, I enjoy it, and I think it's more of like him becoming more human over time.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I chalk it up. Like, it's a big Star Trek nerd thing to be like, well, he's an emotionless automaton, so he should never emote because he doesn't understand it. And it's like, yes, that's true, but it also would limit Brett Spiner so heavily that, like, as a TV show, it would be difficult to watch him because you would never know what he's thinking or what he's feeling, or how he's not selling the scene, because he would just be flat. He would just be constantly like, he would roll the dice and they would cut back to him and he would just be like,
Yeah.
I have rolled a 7. And, like, that's it, and it's
Yeah,
like,
that's not fun either. Yeah.
so, like, I get why he does it. I get why the production staff does it, but it also
Because
just,
even Spock showed
yes,
emotion
yes, I agree.
at times.
Yeah. His tone of his voice changed and things of that nature. I
Yeah.
agree. I always chalk it up as, taking the realism out of it. I always chalk it up that Data is just doing the things that he assumes a human would do in that moment. They make this face, so therefore I'm making this face.
Yeah.
What did you think of the music overall? I thought it was kind of decent for the tone.
Yeah. I liked it.
That, like, like,
Yeah, it was good.
especially when they're, like, walking out at the end, like they've given all the money away and they've bought the hotel, and it was like, I don't know, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. I like it. The other thing I really didn't enjoy, honestly, was the Texas guy being a little too,
Handsy?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. At first, I didn't really understand what was happening, and then I was like, oh, so he's, like, really greasy. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
It almost played out like, it's for laughs, but also it's like he's trying to get her to lose all her money so that she has to like stay with him in the hotel.
Yes, and, like, also be sad, and he can be, like, her crying shoulder. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah, it's good.
yeah.
Very stereotypical.
But apparently he gets his just desserts because he bets against Data and then he loses all of his money. I guess that's kind of like how the bad, like, quote unquote, gross guy gets what he deserves. But
It's just like betting on the ponies.
Going into it for myself, I probably was looking at Roddenberry, maybe a Kazinti when I was first looking forward to watching the episode.
Well,
But I think after I watched it, I probably would give it one Akuta. So it was a nice. I ended up enjoying it more than I normally do. So I'm glad that you and I were both on the same page of actually enjoying the episode.
yeah, I enjoy it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
So there.
Well, that was the review of the episode. But before you click off this video, stick around because we're about to do the thing that everyone's been waiting for.
Caleb? Caleb, Caleb, Caleb.
So, Caleb, first off the bat, we have the Erica Ortegas Award for being the most unlikable character.
The Texas guy.
Okay, Texas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like he's supposed to be unlikable, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
get it. But
Mm-hmm. He was, could you say he was doubly written badly?
yeah,
Very good.
I could say that.
Yeah, for whatever his name was, Todd Williams, he wrote him bad, and then Maurice Hurley wrote him bad.
Yeah.
But Ching. Okay. Next, who gets the Elizabeth Cutler Award for being the most forgettable?
I don't want to say Deanna again, because my God, is she just always the weakest member of the crew every week.
Yeah,
Um,
not much happening there, yeah.
I mean, it's a whole thing too that like they're in this weird plane, but she can still sense his feelings, and that's a whole thing too. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Mickey D was the most forgettable.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. I like it
The
actually.
whole
I like
episode sets him up to be this, oh yeah, you don't mess with Nikki D's girl.
it.
He's
And
gonna
then
come in here and he's gonna tune you up, and then he comes in, he's this little like dude with this little furry coat,
yeah.
and he shoots a guy in the back. Like, all right, come on, dude.
Yeah. They do definitely set him up as being like some huge threat, and then he's just like, see you later.
Maybe we should talk about this outside. And then he shoots him in the back like a coward.
Yeah. I think maybe that his writing and his appearance lends to the fact that this is a poorly written novel.
Yeah, and that's true.
Okay, yeah. Next is the Mugatu Award for the best alien of the episode.
I'll just say Worf.
Nah, nice. Nice. Nah, that's a fine choice. They want something called room service.
The alien parasite.
Yes, yes.
Never saw him.
They're my favorite. Next is the Trip Tucker Award for the MVP of the episode.
It's probably Riker.
Nice. Okay, it's a good pick. Keeps us
He's the one that
calm.
kind of figures out that he's got to spend money at the casino.
Yeah, that's true. He does put that together. Yeah, I was thinking it was a little funny that he walks in and they're all like, okay," and then Data's like, "So based off of what's happening and the fact that we can't communicate with the Enterprise, we should leave." And then Riker's like, "We can look around for a little bit, have some fun, and then we'll leave." It
Yeah.
was just like, that sounds like a bad idea, Riker.
Yeah. And then, that was the scene too where Picard's like, it's not like him to just
Yes.
not check in. And Deanna's like, well, he feels very like happy and like he's having fun. And Picard's like, why would he be doing that? Why?
Not the number one I know. He's always serious.
Not my number one.
Well, next is the Spock Award for the best line of the episode.
It's probably the room service bit is pretty good to me.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. He's yeah, he's like there's a female voice asking if we want room service. And they all look at each other and he's like, I believe she is asking if we want the room cleaned. And Riker's like, tell her no. And then he cuts back to Worf and he's like, no.
Yeah. Pretty good.
That is pretty good. Next is the Shran Award for the best action sequence.
It's when
Oh no.
it's when they go to leave the hotel, but they walk
Oh.
right back into it. Captain, this door seems to be in a perpetual state of revolving.
Uh,
Obviously, the best action in
yeah, true.
this episode. Yeah.
I was hoping it was going to be when Data crushed the dice to make them balanced more correctly, but
You mean cheated? Yeah.
yeah, right. Oh, excuse me. Well, next is the NX Award for some sweet ship stuff.
I like Picard's personal computer.
His little monitor thing that he turns.
It's clearly just cardboard, a cardboard box. Yeah, that's great.
With some lights in it so that he can show a gel.
Beep boop, beep boop. Yeah.
I'm reading page after page of this gripping novel. And they're like, no, you're not, sir.
No, you're not. No, I'm not.
Very good. Well, second to last is the Porthos Award for the cheesiest thing of the episode.
We're gonna say it's the bellboy.
Just the bellboy in general.
He's the cheesiest.
Have you talked to Rita yet? I've told you not to talk to me about Rita. I agree. Pretty much him and the other lady, whatever, Vanessa or something. They were like the most like
She's pretty bad, yeah.
one-dimensional people, but
I get that like it's supposed to be a bad novel, but like it's just so funny.
yeah, I agree.
There's this like big like mob boss, and he's
threatened by the bellboy.
he's like, "Don't worry, I got a gun. I'll go deal with him outside," and then he like turns his back to him.
And then everybody's like, "Oh man, that guy got shot. That's unfortunate."
Oh
Go back
man.
to playing.
Yeah. Let it ride.
Yeah, exactly. Well, last is the Enterprise Award for the best scene of the episode.
It's definitely the Data gambling scene.
Okay. The snapping of the fingers and seven again.
I enjoy how at first he has the dice like in his hand and he's doing like this.
Oh yes, yeah.
And then by like the end of it when he's doing good, he's just like
Yeah.
it's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, and he blows, he has her
Yeah.
blow on him, he blows on him. Yeah.
It's good, yeah, it's fun.
It's not bad. Yeah, it's good. I agree. It's definitely a highlight of the episode. That I think honestly, it's that scene where they're gambling at the end to win everything, to win the 12.5 million. And the other scene that would rival it is when they like go into the astronauts like hotel room and like, discover everything. That's probably the two best scenes of the episode. So yeah. But I will always remember Data doing what you're saying, or them being like, ooh, and then dropping the dice. So yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't even look.
No. Well, very good. That was the award ceremony for the Royale. That's what Caleb awarded. But you can have your own personal award ceremony where you can let us know who gets the Popcorn Award for being the best actor of the episode. You can let us know in the comments, and we'll tackle it in Hailing Frequencies Open, where Caleb will take in your suggestions and then make his own determination who gets the award. You never know, you might be able to influence him, so make sure you say something down there. But while you're down there writing the Popcorn Award, take a moment and write what you thought of the episode. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you want more of it? Or did you find this episode to be a Royale pain in the butt?
Wow.
Let us know down below.
Next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Next week's episode is episode 13 of season 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and that episode is entitled Time Squared. another math episode. So we look forward to that.
Another math episode.
But as always, if you liked the review, like the video. If you disliked the review, dislike the video. Share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss a review. And ring that bell so you can watch the review as soon, the second it comes out. And then when this video is over, you can always head over to Caleb's channel. Caleb has his own YouTube channel where he creates props from pop culture and video games and things of that nature. We also have a continuation of other podcasts over on his channel where we talk about other things not always related to Star Trek. So if you like hearing our opinions on things, you can head on over to his channel, The Plastic Underground Props. While you're over there on Caleb's channel, find a video that you like it so that he knows you liked it. Leave a comment. Leave a suggestion for something him to make. You decide, but please subscribe. So we appreciate everybody doing the fun, excellent things down below, helping our channel grow. We appreciate once again Ed Markstar and Captain Alimar for their tremendous Patreon support. And we look forward to tackling next week's episode. But we're at the conclusion, so Caleb, send us out.
All right, computer. Remember, when you're at the Hotel Royale, you can stay, but you can never leave. Such a lovely place. Such a lovely place.
They stab it with their stealing knives, but they can't ever be. Okay.
Yeah.
See,
The Texas guy gives me the creeps. Such a lovely place.
I love it. I love it so much.
Good times.